Hi, everyone. My name is Simon Borg-Olivier. I am an exercise-based physiotherapist. I'm a university lecturer in human biology, and I'm also a research scientist. I've been working with posture, movement, breathing, and mindfulness or mental control for the last 50 plus years. I was introduced to breathing by my father, who was a free diver and a South African athlete in 1968, just after my father taught me. He taught me how to do internal control of my internal organs, which is something I'd like to share with you. It's about learning how to use your muscles of breathing without breathing. And I also then got influences from people like my Tibetan Lama when I was 17 years old. And then I traveled to India, and I had influences from fairly well-known teachers such as BKS Iyengar, Sri K. Patabi Joyce, and Desika Cha, all who were teachers from Sri Krishnamacharya. In the meantime, I also had wonderful teachings from Japan. And over the last 25 years, I've had tremendous teaching from China. So it sounds like I've done many different things, but actually my main teachers all were born within 600 kilometers of each other in Tibet, northern India, and southern China. So what I actually teach and share predominantly is the common truth between the teachings of Asia and traditional wisdom, including the wisdom that's also I've found in places like indigenous Australian culture, South African and South American cultures as well. And I've tried to put this together with how it works with modern understanding of exercise-based physiotherapy and modern medical science. So that's what I'm sharing with you tonight. And what I'd like to begin with is the idea that breath control and breathing in general is very misunderstood in the modern world. Like, for example, often you hear that breathing is the link between body and mind, or breathing is the link between the conscious and the unconscious. Whereas in fact, it's not breathing as such that's the bridge between conscious and unconscious. It's actually your diaphragm. I'll ask you just to stand or sit now so you can see me easily. And if you place one hand on the abdomen and one hand on your chest, breathe into your abdomen. And when you breathe into the abdomen, you should feel like the abdomen swells and expands and the chest doesn't. Now, when you do this, this is making your diaphragm work. Now, that feeling of the diaphragm working is something which happens in your deepest, most regenerative cycle, sleep. In other words, it's something that you do and a muscle that can be operated without you thinking about it. The unconscious mind can make the diaphragm work, but consciously you can also make the diaphragm work. So it's not breathing that's the link between body and mind. It's the diaphragm, a muscle which is operated by a nerve. So this is something which is important to note because many people think you should breathe more. You often hear it in the world of exercise, fitness, and yoga and things like this. Breathe more. But logically, healthy people hardly breathe at all while doing lots of things. You see a person who runs fast and hardly breathes at all. You think that's a fit person. Whereas when you see a person who is just walking very slowly and they're going, you think that person's very sick. They might, in fact, die soon. So what I really want to share with you is how we can work towards breathing as little as possible, which is what you do in your deepest, most regenerative cycle, sleep. And in things like meditation, you also hardly breathe at all. At times of focused concentration, often people don't breathe much at all. And athletes who are in the zone or the flow state often are working at a level which is sustainable. And at that time, if it's sustainable for a long time, they're not over breathing either. Elite athletes include people like free divers. And what they're doing, of course, is staying extended periods underwater without breathing at all. Even Olympic swimmers often will increase the speed and their ability to win a race, because when they're doing 50 meters or 100 meters, they might do that in one breath. And the more they take their head in and out of the water, the slower they get. So it's not breathe more. It's about breathe as little as you can while doing as much as you can. Secondly, there are many benefits for using your breathing muscles, which are above and beyond the act of breathing. So many of the benefits that people attribute to exercise are not actually just to do with exercise, but they're more to do with correct use of the muscles of breathing. When you can learn to use all of the muscles of breathing correctly, and I'll discuss what those muscles might include, then you'll find you get better strength, better flexibility, better stability, and you also get much better blood flow, a much more balanced heart rate variability, which relates to internal health of the immune system, digestive, reproductive system. Plus, you also actually massage your internal organs when you can use your breathing muscles better. Also, when the breathing muscles are used in a coordinated, appropriate function, you'll find that the nervous system tends to adopt much more easily that state of parasympathetic dominance, which euphemistically we call the state of rest, relaxation, rejuvenation, regeneration, as opposed to sympathetic dominance, which is euphemistically called the state of flight, fight, or fear. So if you want supreme health, then my teachers from all over the world, including teachers who went well into their hundreds, and two of them are actually 120 this year, two Chinese men, 120 years old this year, still very viable, very capable, very esteemed gentlemen. They will tell you that the two most important things that we need to do for longevity, for health, happiness, and longevity is enhance cardiovascular function and maintain a parasympathetically dominant state. So when you enhance cardiovascular function, this means that blood will flow very easily without your heart racing. And I'd like you to feel some of this tonight. Then the other thing is, can you stay in that very restful state regardless of what you are doing, whether it's seemingly a stressful activity to other persons watching you, you should nevertheless feel you are relaxed. Now, this is something which you see in the traditions and movements and practices of India, China, Japan, and every traditional culture. So I want you to get a feeling of what we're doing by trying a couple of simple positions at the start of this session and just see how they feel for you at the start. And if I had a longer time, I would get you to test these positions as little marker points, as little assessment places. And maybe if you do this practice again, you might do that, stop, start, test these positions. Because what I want you to get is a sense that you're getting more flexible without stretching, a sense that you're more energized while breathing less, a sense that you're warmer while keeping your heart rate very low, and a sense that you actually get stronger without feeling tense. So a lot of what I'm teaching relates to core. And when I say the core, I'm talking about this region of the lower abdomen, which is often talked about in the West, the importance of engaging your lower abdomen or engaging your core, but usually it's talked about as the lower abdomen. And as an exercise-based physiotherapist, this relates to studies going back to 1980s in Australia, actually, where I live, where they told people that if they had a back problem, the best thing to do is to engage their lower abdomen before they move. And I'd like to show you that for most people, they can't do this. And the physiotherapists of Australia, using things like real-time ultrasound, showed by about the year 2000 that the instruction, engage your lower abdomen, is a dysfunctional instruction. Instructions such as tighten the pelvic floor also will cause stress. Instructions such as tighten the abdomen are very ambiguous. Draw the navel to the spine is also very ambiguous. And when people often hear the expression, take a deep breath in, What they'll often do is the exact opposite of what deep is. They'll breathe into the chest, as opposed to deep inside the body, which should be the pelvic floor, the lower abdomen, and the lower back, where you breathe in your deepest, most regenerative cycle, sleep. Also, the concept of maintain a neutral spine is also dysfunctional in most people. Our spines need to move. And when we think about the core, it's this region between the navel and the pubic bone, the top of the hips and your tailbone, between the diaphragm and your pelvic floor. This region is actually a small version of your trunk, which is a manifestation of or an expression of your spine. So what we want is to maintain active spinal movements so your spine can bend forward and backward, side to side, twist left and right. It can also lengthen and shorten. All of these things your core can and should do first. But your core, like your trunk, has the possibility of expansion and contraction. And the ability to expand and contract your entire trunk from the core relates to blood flow, and it also relates to the ability to bend seemingly forward from your back and seemingly backward from the front, seemingly lengthening left side and right side at the same time. So you're widening in all directions plus lengthening. And that change in volume that the trunk makes will affect the air coming in and out of the body if the glottis is open, plus it will affect blood flow. And really, the heart can be thought more of a valve and less of a pump. There are 11 other pumps of blood through the body that are far more effective at moving blood. And so I want to share some of this with you. To show you, I need to take off my shirt so you can see my trunk, and then you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. So as much as possible with the practices I'm offering, I'd like you to stand if you can, sit if you need to, but you'll get a better result if you stand, and face towards the screen. Sometimes I'm going to turn sideways, and I'd like you to still keep facing me. I'm only showing you a side view so you can see laterally what I'm doing. So please begin with your legs about hip width apart. Just lift up the feet, stop, and just where the feet land, that's where you should be. I'm going to turn sideways, keep facing me. And when the legs are apart, I need you to release the tension of the lower back and the tension in the front of our hips that tends to take place from prolonged sitting, that tends to happen in the modern body. 5 to 15 hours a day is what most people do. Start with your knees a little bit bent. How much you bend them is up to you. I'm bending them a little bit more than I need to so you can see. And then let your sitting bones drop down like a weight on a string, which is your spine. Move the top of your hips back, lengthen your lower back, your lower front ribs inwards and backwards to lift and lengthen the upper back. Move your shoulders apart and relax your throat. Then lengthen into your fingertips and check. You can breathe naturally. Check you're relaxed in your pelvic floor, relaxed in your face. And this is just a starting position. Now, if you lengthen and relax like this in this starting position, you'll find perhaps very quickly you start to get warmer. If you can, I'd like you to attempt about 4 postures. So these 4 postures, follow me if you can. Don't force, don't overdo, and just see how they feel in the starting position. I'm assuming your body is unprepared for exercise, you're probably cold. Only do what feels good. The first position I'd like you to try is what in yoga poses, they're called the downward facing dog pose. So if comfortable, have your hands about shoulder width apart, your legs about hip width apart, and just lengthen your body and see how it feels to do this posture. Allow a few moments just to sense things like temperature and sensations of stretch and how much tension you require to do the posture. Then release. If I had time, I'd do each of these postures separately, but suffice to say for today, time is limited. Just do what you can. The second posture I'd like you to do is a forward bend. So I'd like you to start again with your legs hip width apart. I'll turn sideways so you can see. Bend your knees initially, and if comfortable, only do what's comfortable. Bring your fingertips onto the floor. If comfortable, palms flat to the floor. Start with your chin up, and then if comfortable, allow the legs to straighten as much as they comfortably can. And then if possible, bring your chin in towards your throat. Avoid discomforting situations, avoid hurting yourself in any way, and see how it feels. Check temperature and stretch, etc. Then bend the knees, push the hips forward and stand up. This is just an assessment. Third position is sometimes called a cobra position or an upward facing dog. So lie on your abdomen and then take your elbows on the floor. This is the position that many people have trouble with reading books at nighttime. So you can be on your elbows like this and just see how it feels for your lower back. Then, if comfortable, come up a little bit higher. And if you wish, lift up and let the back bend. Now, don't do this if it hurts, but I just want you to measure how far can you lift up before you feel your back begins to feel uncomfortable. Some people can come up all the way. Many people experience pain. And now come back down and gently come back up. And the final position I'd like you to feel is a sideways bend. So for this position, start with your right foot forward and step your left foot back about 1.5 meters. And I'm just going to turn sideways so you can see this. Bring your right elbow on the right knee if you can, and take the left arm over the head, and then take the right fingers to the floor if possible. Look at your left hand if you can, and this is a commonly taught yoga posture. It's a side bend. Now, look at the floor, push on the right foot, and stand back up. Test the second side. Start with your left foot forward, step the right leg back. And then from that position, again, I'll turn sideways so you can see. Put your left elbow, left knee, take your right arm over the head, and if comfortable, bring the left fingers toward the floor. Then from that position, look down, push the foot, and stand back up. These postures are often thought of as stretches, but actually what they should be is places you can begin to do resistance exercise. There are also places which should feel comfortable for you to work from. But for many people, they use the stretching and tensing positions. Nothing is wrong or right as such, but it would be much better if you could do those positions without any sensation of stretch. Much better if you could do them where your body felt really warm. All of this relates to blood flow, and blood flow relates to energy flow. Energy flow relates to breathing, but breathing is not about learning how to breathe more. The essence of healthy breathing means, can you breathe as little as possible while maximizing the use of your muscles of breathing? Now, that will sound very odd, but if you do a little bit of scientific research, which I won't go into now too much detail, but what you need to do is not think about taking more breath, but actually building up carbon dioxide. And that comes by breathing less. If you can build up carbon dioxide inside you, there's generally always enough oxygen. If you can reduce what we call the minute ventilation, the amount of air you take in and out of your body every minute, then increased carbon dioxide would increase blood flow to the brain. It will calm your nervous system down, increase the transfer of oxygen from your lungs to your blood, and also allow a much greater entry of oxygen from your oxyhemoglobin, this red pigment in the blood, and allow it to enter your cells, your body cells. And when we've got oxygen inside the body cells, you can generate 19 times as much energy from the fuel like sugar that you burn or metabolize. All right, so now I want you to just get in touch with some of the key breathing muscles. So for this, I'd like you to stand again, legs hip width apart, bend the knees slightly, and drop your sitting bones down. Move the top of your hips back, lengthen your lower back, your ribs back, lift the upper back, and then lengthen into your fingertips. Without going into too much detail, the breathing muscle that we're working first with is your diaphragm. So let's get into touch with that first. To feel it, put your fingers into your lower abdomen. So find the pubic bone. I'm turning sideways so you can see, keep facing me, and put your fingers deeply into your lower abdomen. Make it as soft as you can. And I'm just going to come a little bit closer to the camera so you can see. And from the side here, notice I'm letting my abdomen relax. Now it looks like a baby belly, a Buddha belly. Now, Can you make your abdomen as soft as mine? Most people can't. If I put my fingers in, you can see I can actually bring my fingers almost all the way to my spine. My abdomen is so soft, I can feel my vertebral segments. I can feel my psoas, everything. Now, it's not to say I'm asking you to keep the abdomen this soft the whole time, but it's more like being a baby. Babies will walk around with a very soft abdomen until you pick them up. And when you pick them up, abdomen goes very hard. It's like a drum. So my abdomen is very firm. And this firmness I've got is created using a specific muscular set, which allows me to still engage my diaphragm. One of the biggest problems with work where people talk about engaging their core or tightening their abdomen is they engage the abdomen using muscles which actually inhibit natural diaphragmatic function. So once again, feel your lower abdomen, make it as soft as you can, and there's my pubic bone. Find below the pubic, just above the pubic bone, push your fingers in, and then breathe in to your lower abdomen. And as you do that, the abdomen should push out like a baby's belly. And when it pushes out like a baby's belly, it tells you that the diaphragm is functioning. Now, many people say that diaphragmatic function is if you hold your lower ribs and you expand the lower ribs. This is actually not diaphragmatic function. The diaphragm goes from one rib to the other. So when it contracts, when the diaphragm is used for inhalation, a diaphragmatic contraction, so we say sometimes, the ribs will pull inwards and the abdomen pulls outwards. So here's a rested chest. If I tighten my diaphragm, if I pull my diaphragm down, you'll see my ribs go in and my abdomen goes out. This muscle, the diaphragm, is not just a muscle of breathing. It will affect pressure changes inside the body. It will affect blood flow. So what I'd like you to feel now is, can you make this a little bit more functional? Because if you can make the diaphragm work better, it gives you the benefits you get in the deepest, most regenerative cycle of sleep that you do every night. And so to feel that, you need to feel the breath is not just in the lower abdomen, it's also in the lower back. So if you bend the knee slightly and round the lower back outwards, like I'm doing, with the top of the hips back and your ribs back, you'll feel a little bit of length in your lower back. Now feel the lower back, feel the lower abdomen, and breathe again into your lower abdomen. See if you can feel it in the lower back as well. So when I inhaled then, I could feel the breath so profoundly in my lower back that one of the vertebral segments actually went pop and opened up. So that actually released potential for lower back pain. You should also feel the expansion in your pelvic floor. So if you wish, you can hold your pelvic floor with one hand, hold the lower back with the other hand, and then breathe into your lower abdomen. But feel the pelvic floor also expands, the lower back also expands. Now, this is natural. If you checked a baby while changing a nappy, you see the pelvic floor opens on inhalation. That happens in your most relaxed state. But what happens if you tighten your pelvic floor? I'm not saying it's wrong to tighten your pelvic floor if you have a problem in your pelvic floor. For example, something will fall out when you stand up. Then yes, you have pelvic floor dysfunction and you need to do exercises for that. But I often say to my students, if when you stand up, nothing falls out of your pelvic floor, you probably don't need to tighten it. And if you do, it will cause problems. So let's try this for a second. I'd like you to see and feel what's happening. So tighten your pelvic floor like you're stopping going to the toilet, like you're preventing urination or defecation. Sounds funny, I know, but these are intimate parts of ourselves which keep us healthy. Tighten the pelvic floor, keep it tight, feel your lower abdomen, and then breathe in. And notice if for you, the breath went higher up. It feels a little bit less low. It comes a bit higher up when people tighten the pelvic floor. Often people will find as soon as they tighten the pelvic floor, the abdomen goes tight as well. So what I'd like you to do again is relax the pelvic floor and then breathe in. And notice the breath is felt, the pressure of the breath, not the air, but the air pressure as a result of the diaphragm moving down is felt lower down. Now, see what happens if you expand the pelvic floor, as if about to go to the toilet, but not. This is why they say go to the toilet before you practice. And then when you expand the pelvic floor, the abdomen expands even more. This ability is really crucial if you want to do things like sit-ups and things like that. Any strength exercise will be much better if you can learn to breathe diaphragmatically, sometimes with the abdomen soft and sometimes with it hard. But let's see what happens when people tighten the opposing muscles to the diaphragm, because every muscle, which we might call an agonist muscle or an agonist muscle group, has an antagonist muscle group. The antagonist muscle group for the diaphragm, or the muscle of abdominal inhale, is the muscles we use for forced abdominal exhale. So to feel those, which are mainly the oblique muscles, I'd like you to put your fingers in your soft lower abdomen, go as deep as you can in, hold your rib cage with the other hand. And while holding your rib cage, the idea is don't let the ribs expand at all. I'd like you to tighten your pelvic floor first, and then use that to initiate an exhalation, which is a strong exhalation from the abdomen. As you blow out the air through the nose, I'm going to blow out through my mouth so you can hear it. Pull your belly away from your fingers. So your abdomen actually pulls in and hardens away from the fingers. Now you see my abdomen is in, it's hard. Now keep the abdomen in, keep it hard, and try and breathe into your abdomen. And most people will find the chest expands instead. This is a manifestation of stress. This is what you don't want. It will cause problems with the reproductive system, digestive system, immune system. It will actually switch your body into flight or fight, thereby turning off the organs of longevity, reproductive, digestive, immune, etc. You don't want this. Very rarely would you need to tighten those muscles. Those muscles will lock the spine. They're oblique muscles, left and right side oblique muscles. The right oblique muscle, external oblique, will make you twist to left. Left one makes you twist to right. There are internal obliques as well. And the oblique muscles will make you twist one way or the other way. But if you tighten them both, that's what makes the abdomen pull in and tighten. And it makes you exhale strongly. And it will prevent you from twisting and lock the spine. This might be useful if someone has problem twisting or moving their spine. A physiotherapist might say, exhale fully, lock your spine, and don't move it if it hurts when you move it. That's about the only time you might say it. Unfortunately, this notion came to the modern world in a way where everyone does it all of the time. Now, there's another way of firming your abdomen, which is a lot better. It's using muscles, which we could call postural muscles, which will give you firmness, but do not inhibit the diaphragm. So let me give you an example. What I'd like you to feel is, again, facing me, stand with your knees a little bit apart again, make yourself comfortable, and then bend the knees down so your spine straightens more. And then in a straight position like that, just shift your body weight. So you keep your spine lengthened, don't shorten your back, but lean backward like that. Keep your chin in so your eyes stay on me, and go back as far as you can without discomfort. And then from there, check. What happens to your abdomen? It generally becomes firm. So mine is firm. Now check, can you breathe naturally? And the answer is, I can breathe absolutely fine. My neck feels absolutely fine. I'm fine. I have a very firm abdomen and I can breathe naturally. Some of you will be unable to breathe naturally and you're holding tension. The only muscle I need to tense here is the rectus abdominis. And you can see this because when I feel my abdomen, it's firm on the front, it's completely soft on the sides. It's completely relaxed on the sides, and you can see it here like this. And this muscle in Indian yoga is an expression of a kriya, or internal purification process, called nauli. So I can activate this muscle by expanding my chest as if in breathing to the chest, and also activate it while doing this muscle activation, which is like what I'd use for a half sit-up. So let me show you that quickly. It's something that I'd like you to think about the possibility of learning. I'm going to exhale fully, hold the breath out, breath held out. I release my abdomen, let it go soft. Then I expand my chest and upper back, like inhaling but not. And then keeping my chest expanded, I'm going to tighten the rectus abdominis like this. This is part of a process called nauli in Indian yoga, something I've been doing since 1968. And it's very, very good. It gives you a lot of potential to have strength, flexibility, and fitness. And also, you don't have to sleep so much. You don't have to eat so much when you can operate these muscles like this. This muscle will make a big difference to how your back feels in forward bends, back bends, and side bends. But to understand how to use this muscle, how to create it without tension, you first have to learn how to relax. And the most important places to relax are the other bridges between conscious and unconscious. So people think of the diaphragm as the main breathing muscle, the main connection between conscious and unconscious. But there are 11 other places which have dual control. Listing these, they are the pelvic floor front, middle, and back, the connection between sitting bones and toes, the diaphragm, the connection from shoulders to fingers, your neck, your salivary apparatus, the ability to swallow, and your tongue, the jaw, your lips, your outer eyes are blinking, and your inner eyes which roll the eyes. Without going into too much detail, things like your salivary apparatus, that can be operated consciously, but sometimes if you see delicious food in front of you, you start to salivate unconsciously. Similarly, your eye muscles, which allow you to blink consciously, can also operate unconsciously when something flashes in front of your face. So all these places I've mentioned are places which have dual control and are access points to your unconscious, which you can do consciously. So I'll put them into 6 groups for the moment. It's the easiest way of releasing them and connecting with them. Start with your knees again bent. I'm actually taking my legs wider so I can be still seen in the camera and be close enough. You don't need to keep them so wide, like that's enough. I'm just coming closer so you can see. So start with your fingers high as you wish or as low as you prefer. There's an easy version. There's a harder version. Now, lengthen your fingers and move them. When I say move them like the fronds of a sea anemone. So they're lengthened but relaxed. When you lengthen and relax these key places, you'll find blood starts to flow. So expect in a very few moments to start to feel a bit warmer, perhaps, without the heart racing. So lengthen your fingers, check the fingers can move. Secondly, move the shoulder blades apart from the base of the neck and let your shoulders roll. Not to stretch, but rather to sense that they're free. So I could make my circle much bigger, but then it becomes stretch. So I keep it away from stretching and just more like freedom. Then the third place is the neck, and I make my neck lengthen front and back, and I move the chin in, up, forward, and down. These are only one way of moving these parts. But again, I'm not trying to stretch. I'm keeping it a little bit bigger than it needs to be just so you see. But you can make it just slow enough so lengthen and relax. The fourth place is the pelvic floor. Relax your pelvic floor and relax your hips. So for that, move your pubic bone down and forward over your toes and move your lower back up and backward over your heels. When I say the lower back, find the top of the hips, find the spine between the top of the hips, and then go 2 centimeters down. So there's the top of my hips. There's the spine around L5, S1. Go around L4, L5 rather. Go down 2 centimeters. It's L5, S1. That's the back of your core. When I talk about the core, I'm not talking just about muscles. I'm talking about a central point where all movement starts from, and around it is the enteric nervous system or your gut brain. Then above and below it is your breathing muscles, and around it is your digestive, immune, reproductive systems, and a whole bunch of muscles above. Important muscles we're connecting to this breathing apparatus and the core include not just the muscles we think about as core muscles, transverse abdominis, which is this muscle. You see I'm rolling my lower abdomen in, then my upper abdomen in. That's transverse abdominis. That's when they say to you, engage the lower abdomen. That's me doing that. See, my lower abdomen is going in, but nothing is hardening. You try it. Feel your abdomen soft, engage the lower abdomen, means pull it in, but it doesn't harden. Neither does the upper. This is why physiotherapists in Australia stop telling people to engage the lower abdomen, because most people harden everything. You try it. Feel the abdomen above and below, pull in the lower abdomen and check. Can you still breathe like when you're asleep? Can you inhale low, or did you add stress? Feel the lower abdomen. Mine is still soft, even though it's inwards. And when I breathe in, I can still feel pressure there. This is important. If you want benefit from your breathing, then the best thing to do is reestablish the state of natural breathing that you had when you were asleep. If you want to do more than that, then whatever supernatural breathing you're doing, it must have as its base this feeling that the diaphragm is still functioning. So when I breathe into the chest, my chest looks like it's expanding. But when I feel my lower abdomen, it's soft, but it's also expanding at the same time. So I expand the chest, but I feel my lower abdomen is pushing out against my fingers, even though the chest is expanding. Now you could try this, but most people can't do it. So let me go back to where I was with the rectus abdominis. And I just want you to release all these muscles. Fingers lengthen, fingers can move. Shoulders apart, shoulders can roll. Neck lengthen, neck is free. Pelvic floor relaxed, and the pelvis can roll. And when the pelvis rolls, you're opening and closing your psoas muscle. Psoas is the muscle at the front of the hip, which is very, very tense and shortened in most modern people who live in chairs for 2 to 15 hours a day minimum. And what this does, this muscle joins onto your lower back. So when the psoas is over shortened, you tend to stand up, bend forward. Old people stand up like this. Young people will squash their back to stand up, and they pinch their lower back, giving back pain or energy drain. So by bending the knees, it releases the pressure on the psoas, releases lower back pain, but also the psoas connects to your diaphragm. So when you extend your hips and flex your hips, extension of the hips will pull your diaphragm down. Flexion of the hips will pull the diaphragm up. The diaphragm sits like a dome. The psoas, the hip flexor, attaches to it. So when you inhale, diaphragm pulls down. When you exhale, diaphragm comes up. Relax for a moment and just see what happens if you come up on your heels and go down on your toes in this fluid way. Come up on your heels, go down on your toes. And as you're doing it, move your fingers. Let your shoulders roll a little bit softly. Keep your head looking at me. And to do that, you have to keep the head slightly moving in harmony with the rest of your body so that you don't move your head in space. Keep your neck relaxed. Keep your eyes on me. Relax your pelvic floor. Let your hips move. Check you can breathe naturally. And check your face is relaxed. And when you're doing this, feel you go down and then up. Go down over your toes. Come up with your lower back onto your heels. And as you're doing this, don't think breathe, just think relax. But of course, you are still breathing. And how are you breathing is related to what's happening with your psoas. So what I'd like you to do is, without stress, block your nose with your thumb. Make the movement a little bit bigger. Breathe when you need to, but if you can, hold the breath a bit longer, go a bit slower. And notice that when you come up and when you go down, it changes the pressure against your thumb and your nose. On the way up, there's a sense of suction. On the way down, there's a sense of pressure against the thumbs. Release. There's a definite connection. Your psoas will pull down as you come up. Your psoas contracts and pulls the diaphragm down and makes you ever so slightly breathe in. This movement is associated to what happens to you when you're walking, and ideally you want to let this happen as much as possible. Then you start to get natural breathing in exercise. Now, moving your face is also very important. Can you massage and move your tongue, your jaw, your lips, and your eyes? All of these things will make it much easier to achieve what I was doing. Start again with your knees a bit bent. Breathe into the abdomen. Then move your hips forward, your chin in, and lean back. And notice how the front of the abdomen became firm. Your ribs are held inwards. And the sides of your abdomen should be more relaxed. Still not relaxed? Again, lengthen your fingers, check they can move. Shoulders apart, check they can roll. Neck lengthen, check the neck is free. Pelvic floor relaxed, check your pelvis can roll. And make your face relaxed by creating saliva with your lips, your jaw, with your eyes. Breathe naturally into your pelvic floor and your abdomen and let the air go out passively. Now feel your abdomen. Front firm, sides should be softer. And then to come out of the position, move your lower back backward and down to undo. All movement should start from your core. Now, what you've noticed then, I hope, is the difference between tightening your abdomen in a way where you can breathe naturally, as opposed to tightening the abdomen the way most people do, which causes dysfunction. Just try that one again. The dysfunctional breathing will be like this. Tighten your pelvic floor, put your fingers in the lower abdomen and the hand on the chest. Exhale in a way where your pelvic floor tightens, your abdomen pulls in, and you pull your navel away from your fingers, closer to the spine, away from your fingers. Keep the abdomen tight, keep it in. Try and breathe into your abdomen. Notice it's the chest that expands. That's stress. Whereas if you bend the knees and lean back, touch your tummy with your fingers. Note as you lean back, the tummy appears to push out against your fingers. Tummy pushes out against your fingers, but it's not actually pushing out. When you see what happens when you do this, my abdomen tightens. It looks like it's pulling in, but it feels like it's pushing out. So this is me relaxing my abdomen. My hand is touching it. When I tighten it the way you did by leaning back, it does that. It looks like it's pulling in, but it feels like it's pushing out. That confuses people. This same action will happen if when you're lying on the abdomen is relaxed. When I sit up, it looks like it's pulling in. See, from this position, there's my relaxed belly. It looks like when I sit up, my abdomen's pulling in. But when I feel it, it feels like it's pushing out. So this is really important to appreciate the difference between muscles which are postural muscles, which do not inhibit your diaphragm, do not cause stress, and still allow you to breathe, as opposed to non-postural muscles, the muscles of forced abdominal exhalation. Let's now try lifting the shoulders. What happens when you expand the chest? So take a breath into your chest, then let the air out. Now you hear this in many classes that you're supposed to breathe in the chest. It's fine, but are you doing it in a stressful way? So to make sure you're not breathing in the chest stressfully, relax the same way you are when you're asleep. I'll turn sideways again so you can copy me. Start with your knees a bit bent, drop the sitting bones down, open your pelvic floor like you are when you're asleep, relax the abdomen like when you are asleep. This is not a position you put on Facebook, obviously, but it's how we are when we're relaxed. Then keeping your abdomen relaxed, your lower back lengthened, and your pelvic floor open, try and breathe into your chest. And most people will find it very difficult to breathe in their chest at that point. But now, tighten your pelvic floor, pull in your abdomen, now breathe in the chest. And almost 90% of people will instantly find the chest will breathe easily when you tighten your pelvic floor, when you tighten the abdomen. In other words, the things that a couple of minutes ago we felt made us feel stressed will also be the things you need to do to breathe into the chest, which means that most people's chest breathing is dysfunctional breathing. To make the chest breathe properly is very good, but it must be without inhibiting your diaphragm. So when I do this yogic cleansing mechanism called Uddiyana Bandha in yoga, you can see that I'm expanding my chest. And my abdomen is very relaxed. I can breathe into the chest. And as I do that, my abdomen is not hard at all. Or I can pretend to breathe in my chest. This is not possible for 90% of people. I can show you how to make it easier, and this way of making it easier is also the way that can teach you how to do a better upward-facing dog. So for this position, again, face me. I'll turn sideways, start with your knees a little bit bent, and push your sitting bones down and forward, open the front of the hips, round out the lower back, move your ribs inwards. Move your shoulders forward and up. So see my shoulders are past my ears. Go up as high as you can. Fingers past the ears, shoulders past the ears rather, and I'm turning sideways so you can see that my lower back is rounded out. Now lift the upper back, open the front of the hips, then with the belly expanded, breathe into the chest. Now notice that this position allows you to breathe in the chest. Just for a moment, do what many people teach and practice is when the arms are up, pull the shoulders down. Many people teach that. It's not ideal. So with your shoulders down, again, relax the abdomen and try and breathe into your chest. The chest won't open as easily for most people. But if you take your shoulders forward and up, keep the shoulders forward and up, Now try and breathe into your chest. And the chest will expand more easily, even though the abdomen is totally relaxed. You can try that a few times in your own time if you wish. Now from this position, see if you can stay and enhance expansion. With the expansion, I want you to open your pelvic floor, then round out your lower back. And if you see I'm pinching the skin underneath my hips, if I can pinch it, it's not expanded enough. So if you slightly bend forward in your lower back, then you can't pinch the skin. That's better for this purpose. Then move your ribs in till you can't pinch the skin of the upper back. Keep your pelvic floor open, your lower back expanded, your upper back expanded. Now make your belly as big as you can and lift the shoulders as high as you can and expand the chest. Then from there, you might start experiencing a sense of warmth. But to really get it, stop tensing. Keep the same posture as best as you can, lengthen the fingers and move them. Keep the shoulders lifted as high as you can. And I'll come a bit closer so you can see. Gently roll the shoulders. See, I'm still touching my shoulders to the ears. Only do that if you can. But I'm still mobilizing them. The neck, let it move a little bit as well. It's free. Then the pelvic floor, let the pelvis roll. Forward or backward is fine. And keep your back lengthened. Make the abdomen breathe or roll. Now, relax the face. Again, I'll come closer. So you're doing things like make saliva, swallow it. Move your jaw, your lips, your face, your eyes. Open and close them. Half closed, half open. Make a clockwise rotation with your eyes. So keep this position a little bit longer. Fingers lengthen, hips go down, expand pelvic floor, lower back, upper back, expand belly and chest. And then gently bring down the arms. Notice if you got warm without the heart racing. This is the feeling you look for in poses like downward facing dog, which if you try quickly, you might find now is a little bit softer and a little bit easier. And then the next position is the forward bend. I need you to learn the shape of a half sit-up, and the half sit-up position is this shape. So it's the shape that we do in a half sit-up, here like this. But when you first learn it, it's good to learn from standing. Now, this is done mainly with gravity. What I'd like you to do is bend the knees again. Keep the eyes on me, so lift the chin and expand the abdomen. Then move your pubic bone forward and up and open the front of the hips. Keep your abdomen expanded, move the collarbone down, so you shorten your front. Then your lower back should lengthen more. Expand the belly and then push the shoulder blades forward, turn your shoulders in. Then from that position, shake the fingers can move and raise the heels if you can. So if comfortable, raise the heels up. And it looks ugly, I know, but from this position, heels down or up, push the pubic bone more forward, the top of the hips more back, lengthen the lower back, ribs inwards and upwards, shoulders forward and downwards, belly expanded and throat forward, chin up. Check fingers can move, shoulders can roll, neck is free, pelvic floor relaxed, abdomen can breathe or roll, abdomen's very soft here, and your face relaxed. Make saliva with your lips, your jaw, your eyes. Stay there or raise the heels up and push the hips under the collarbone more. Fingers, shoulders move, neck move, pelvic floor relaxed, tummy can breathe, face soft. You're not feeling a stretch in the back of the legs here. Now stand up and notice if there's a bit of warmth without the heart racing, ideally. Never overdo it. But now see if that makes it easier to bend forward. So bring your hands to the floor, bring your palms flat, head down if you wish, legs straighten if you wish, and see if it feels softer, easier. See if your lower back feels a bit more comfortable, and most people feel this. Let's go back to the bending backwards. When we bend backwards, you're activating the muscles that would be done when we're doing internal yogic kriya. You're also activating the muscles that constrict the chest, which actually make your chest stronger. So for this, start by expanding the back, take the arms up, and go forward and down. Push the pubic bone forward and up, expand the belly, chin up, keep the back lengthened. Now push the pubic bone down and forward and make the front bigger. Expand the belly, lift the collarbone, let the shoulders roll back and lean back. Chin in, so eyes are on me. Turn the shoulders out and extend the wrists. Shake. Fingers can move, shoulders can roll, neck is free, pelvic floor relaxed, tummy can breathe or roll, and the face move, really relax your face. Check, front firm, side soft. If your sides are hard, you're excessively holding that tension. The sides don't need to be hard. Children's sides won't be hard, so relax as much as you can, but don't collapse. Don't hurt your lower back. Keep lifting the front of the body. Expand the front. Keep the lower back lengthened. Open the front of the hips. Breathe into your pelvic floor. Breathe into the abdomen, and let the air out like when you're asleep. Just a soft, relaxed out breath. Fingers can move. Shoulders can roll. Neck is free. Pelvic floor relaxed. Tummy can breathe or roll. Not big breaths, just very minimal, invisible, and audible breath. Then to come and face relax, make saliva, jaw, lips, eyes. To come out of the pose, don't move the shoulders. Move your lower back, the back of the core, backward and down. Release. Now see if after doing that, you have an easier ability to lie on your abdomen. To lie on your abdomen. And from this position, come to a simple cobra, see how it feels. Is it easier? Maybe you can come up higher. Does it feel easier for the lower back? Most people find it is. This is because you've activated just the front, the rectus abdominis, and that releases the back. You've activated your muscles of breathing in, and that releases your muscles of breathing out, which actually go all the way to the back. Let's do one more, bending sideways. And when you lengthen the side of the body, it's possible to lengthen one side and shorten the other. Let's work on just lengthening one side. So I'd like you to face me again, have your legs about hip width apart, and I'll turn sideways so you can see what I'm doing. I'm rounding out the lower back first. With your lower back lengthened, relax, and then lengthen the left side of the body more. So drop your left hip slightly, lift up your left ribs, then lift up your left shoulder if you can, turn your left elbow inwards like I'm doing here, and then lift up your left arm, bring it to the right side. Now keep your back lengthened, your left side really lengthened. Again, see my shoulder right past the ear, if possible. The fingers are lengthened toward the right side. Now keeping the back lengthened, left side lengthened, move your hips toward the left side. So all the weight's in the left leg, if possible. Turn your right thigh in slightly and feel how that opens up the sacroiliac joint on your right side. Now lengthen your fingers. Check the fingers can move. Keep your back lengthened. Check the tummy can breathe. Soften your face, calm your eyes. And then from there, if comfortable, keep leaning on the left side. Notice abdomen fully soft. And then if comfortable, lift up the front of your right hip at your groin. And maybe, if you can, look at the floor for balance. Grip with your toes for balance and lift the right leg up. And you'll feel the right side should firm. Left side should be totally relaxed. Right side firm, left side totally relaxed. If you wish, you come up higher, like the martial arts kicking posture. Don't hurt, don't overdo, don't tense. Think fingers can move, shoulders can roll, neck is free. Leg on the floor or in the air, just on toe tips. You could even hold a wall if you wish. But notice left side lengthened and relaxed, right side firm and compressed, the back lengthened. Now come back to your toe tip, and then lengthen the back of the body more. Bring the right arm in front. Lengthen the left side more. Then lift the right pubic bone, and if comfortable, lift up the right leg into the air. Again, look at the floor for balance. Grip with your toes for balance. And check you've got some firmness in the abdomen if you touch it, but you can still breathe. You're using postural muscles. On the floor or in the air, check. Fingers can move, shoulders can roll. Left side high. Left hip lower, back more lengthened, arm on the right side moving to the left, pubic bone on the right side going to the right. Expand the belly, lift the throat. If comfortable, lift the leg and go fingers can move, shoulders can roll, neck is free, pelvic floor relaxed, tummy can breathe or roll, and then come back down. And notice the warmth that comes. That warmth is blood flow, it's energy flow. Now see what happens if you bring your right leg forward, left leg back, bend the right knee, take the left arm toward the floor and over the head, and perhaps bring your right palm to the floor, coming into this sensation, which you did before, this posture, and see if it feels easier, softer. Stand back up. Now, it does feel warmer for most people. It'll feel easier to do that posture with less stretch. Compare it with the other side. Go left leg forward, right leg back. Bend the left knee and take the right arm into the pose, and you'll notice that the right side feels stiff in comparison. It feels stiff because you haven't used your muscles of breathing in a way to release the right side. So what we do to release the right side is something similar. So I'd like you to, again, stand legs hip width apart, bend the knees, lengthen the back of your body, the ribs in, drop the right hip, and lengthen the right lower back, right upper back, right shoulder. Take the right armpit in and lengthen the right side. Back stays long, right side stays long, and the right armpit past the ear on the left side. Then from there, stay or shift the weight to the right leg. Turn the left thigh in slightly, and keeping your back lengthened, perhaps look at the floor for balance. Grip with your right toes for balance, bend the right knee for balance, and lift up the left leg in the air. I'm going to turn around to face you, and just, if you can hold that position with your arm up, I'll touch my abdomen. You can see it's firm on my left side, soft on my right side. Now, my studies with real-time infrared cameras will tell you that the left side, the firm one, that's actually going to about 32 degrees now, whereas the lengthened and relaxed other side is 37 degrees. So this means blood is flowing because the muscle that contracts will actually push blood away. Now from there, come back to your toe tip and change the posture slightly. Turn the left thigh out. Bring your left arm in front. Take the right arm up and back. Keep the back lengthened. Keep your right side lengthened. Lift your left pubic bone and bring it up to the left leg up high as well. So here I'll face away from you. Belly button, left arm forward to the right. Pubic bone, left knee, turn out and forward to the left. And then from there, on the floor is fine, in the air if you can. The right side lengthen more. The back of the body lengthen more. The abdomen more expanded. And soften everything. Lengthen fingers, check they can move. Shoulders apart, check they can roll. Neck lengthen, check the neck is free. And pelvic floor relaxed, check pelvis can move. Check the eyes are relaxed. Jaw relaxed. Check your abdomen is soft and can breathe. And then release. And notice if that made you warm. This warmth is blood flow. This warmth will make a big difference. What I'd like you to see is actually this posture, which eventually you can learn, and I'm going to sit to do it. It involves expanding the muscles of breathing and using the muscles of breathing without breathing. In yoga, it's called nauli. I do it all on an exhalation retention. Here you need to use the muscles of breathing without breathing. What I'm actually doing is expanding my chest the same way I learned by lifting the arms up. Then I'm tightening the right side of my abdomen in the same way that we did using this posture. I'm tightening the front of my abdomen in the same way I did using this posture. And the left side of my abdomen in the same way I used in this side. Then I tighten my muscles of exhalation. When I do that, you see oblique muscles coming up. Again, I'll do it. See if you can see it And we'll try and zoom in close. Hopefully you could see two muscles, oblique muscles, which when activated together, make you exhale hard. They inhibit the diaphragm, they prevent you moving. But when you learn how to use these muscles individually, then what happens is when you twist pubic bone and navel in opposite direction, the abdomen firms outwards and it makes you firm. This is only a quick introductory explanation to what's happening. I'd like to finish with a couple of minutes of gentle movement. I'll click, and I'd like you to follow my clicks and movements, less or more than we follow. Stay as relaxed as you can. Move with me if you can, and see if over a couple of minutes you can feel warmth, relaxation, tense less, stretch less, breathe less, think less. Just copy in a fluid way where you move actively from your core. Don't lock your core. Breathe naturally, breathe from your core, and move fluidly and gracefully. 4-minute practice. Copy. I've changed positions so you can see what I'm doing, but you keep facing me, please. Thank you. What I'm hoping you experienced just then is a sense of warmth without the heart racing. Hopefully, from what we did before, you recall that those simple postures will give you the ability to do poses such as dog pose, the forward bend, the backward bend, the side bend, and even twisting without the sense of stretch, yet you get flexible, without the sense of tension because you're focusing on relaxing, yet you develop strength. At the same time, that last bit where we go up and down, where the flexors of the hips extend and shorten, that affects not just the diaphragm going up and down, but when I'm doing those movements of up and down, my heart rate variability monitor tells me my heart rate here is 45 beats, 55, 65, 75 beats, 65, 55, 45 beats. My heart rate changes in a way which is associated very strongly with strong immune, reproductive, digestive health. Heart rate variability will change as you do this practice. I'm also breathing very minimally, but very regularly in a way that really gives you lots of energy to your cells. Hence, you feel warmth. I'd love to share so much more with you. Please connect with me. Try and connect with me online, and I'm happy to send you lots of practice sessions where you can learn a lot more than what I've managed to share in this short time. Thank you very much.